You are listening to the Love and Confidence Podcast, episode number 118. Welcome to the Love and Confidence Podcast. If you're a woman who wants to feel more irresistible, have more fun, and create deeper and more authentic connections, this podcast is for you. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help you become the best and most confident version of yourself so you can attract the love life you desire. Let's get started. Hey friend, welcome back to the podcast. Today I will be talking about a topic that is one of the things that seem very obvious and very easy, like almost the most easy thing in the world, but actually in real life for many of us is very difficult. And not only in dating, but maybe especially in dating. Now, this is something that I have struggled a lot with in the past, and I will say coaching has made my life so much easier on that point, and maybe also age, maybe also just the fact that it's not actually that important what people think anymore. Because today I'm going to talk about how to be yourself, how to be authentic. And of course, one of the reasons why we are not authentic is because we are afraid what other people will think of us, and also, we don't actually fully accept ourselves. So that is probably the core reason of this. And it's not like you shouldn't care at all what other people think of you, because the only people who don't care at all what other people think are probably sociopaths. Everyone else does actually care to some degree, but it shouldn't be something that overshadows your ability to be yourself, and especially not in dating. Because there, of course, it's so important to be authentic, to attract the one who is all in on you and who wants you to just be even more you, and then let go of the guys who want something else. The worst that can happen is that we try to be someone that we think he will like, and then we end up with the wrong person who, when we eventually become ourselves in the relationship, they don't actually really fancy that. They want us to stay the fake version that we put up to begin with, which is a bit like shooting ourselves in the foot and not what we want in a relationship. But what does it even mean to be yourself? We hear this all the time, and if you're on Instagram, you will also see it is all over the place. Be your authentic self. You hear people say that all the time, and I say that often too, I know. Just be yourself. You're the only one who knows how to do that, and you are the one who does it the best. But what does it even mean? It's actually much easier to answer that question by looking at when you are not being yourself. What does it mean to not be yourself? And in this episode, I'm going to walk you through 5 examples of where you might not be yourself, where you might not be comfortable being yourself in a dating scenario. And then you can see if you recognize yourself in any of this. And then at the end of this episode, I will, of course, give you some tips to how to change your thoughts about being yourself, how to become more comfortable just being yourself when you're dating someone. So, the first of the 5 examples of where you might not be yourself is when you are trying very hard to impress a man. If you're trying to be funny, interesting, or cool in a way that doesn't really feel natural, like if you say things you normally wouldn't say to a friend, but just because you think this might increase my chances with him. It can also be that you catch yourself responding to different comments or questions in a way that sounds good, but doesn't feel genuine to yourself, and you are stepping out of alignment to yourself. So, what could be some examples of that? Exaggerating your achievements or experiences to seem more impressive, or to be really eager to show him what you have done in your life. It could be using slang or phrases that don't feel natural to you, but just because you think this could make you sound more attractive or more relatable. It could also be talking about interests or hobbies that you don't actually enjoy, but because you think they align with his hobbies or interests. The second example is when you pretend to agree just to keep the peace. Like, for instance, if you're nodding along when he talks about something you actually disagree with, and it's not that you have to share your opinion on everything. Sometimes just listening and asking thoughtful questions is the best approach. But if you pretend to agree in situations where you really don't, then of course you're out of alignment, you're not being yourself. And that could, for instance, be saying you love a certain kind of music or a movie when you actually don't. Agreeing with his opinion on a controversial topic just to avoid conflict, even though you feel differently. Pretending you don't care about something that actually matters a lot to you, like relationship expectations or values. Or acting like you're okay with his lifestyle choices when they don't align at all with yours. Then there's a third example, and that is when you accept things that you are not okay with. And that could be going to his place after a date when you don't feel comfortable doing that yet. It could be staying for another drink when you know you have to get up early. Pretending to be okay with him being 30 minutes late. Or laughing at jokes that actually make you feel uncomfortable. Or it could be agreeing to last minute plans when you were looking forward to a quiet night in. Every time you do this, you override your own feelings just to be agreeable, and you are not being true to yourself. The fourth example is when you hold back and hide who you really are. Like if you stop yourself from saying something because you're afraid that he will judge you. And of course, some hesitation is normal when we're getting to know someone. In the beginning, we don't share everything that's on our mind. But after a while, if you still feel like you're censoring yourself and you're being more quiet than you usually are, or you're overthinking everything that you say, that is a sign that you're not allowing your authentic self to shine. And examples could be if you avoid talking about your true passions because you're afraid they'll sound boring or weird to him. If you're holding back from making jokes or being playful because you're worried he won't get your sense of humor or he will think that you're too silly. Or if you're not sharing personal stories or experiences out of fear of being judged. And if you avoid expressing emotions or excitement about something because you don't want to seem too much. Those are all examples of holding back and not showing who you really are. And then the final example is when you shape yourself to fit what you think he wants, which we can say basically they all are. But in this case, it could be start dressing differently because you assume that this is his type. Or suddenly you are into hiking, even though you normally hate doing outdoor stuff. So if you find yourself morphing into a version of yourself that is tailored to impress him, you're not being yourself. You're not being authentic. And true connection only happens when you show up as yourself, not as an edited version that you think is more appealing. So, how do you shift all this and how do you start feeling more comfortable being yourself and being authentic? First of all, I really want you to remind yourself that the truth will come out eventually. You cannot show up as a different version of yourself if you want a long-term relationship. You need to be yourself. You need to show him who you are and let him know when you disagree about something. Let him see when you are really excited about something. Let him hear your true opinion on what you really like and what you don't like. We can imagine that you try to put up a certain facade and that you try to be this person that you think he wants, but it's just not going to last for a longer time. At some point, you will show who you really are. And it's so important to remember that you want someone who loves you for exactly who you are, not someone who wants the fake version of you that you created to have him like you more or have him be more impressed by you. And you will never find a person who really loves you for who you are if you are pretending to be someone else. So it's really important to practice being more authentic in dating if this is something that shows up for you. And so in order to become more comfortable being yourself, you can reflect on these questions. Does it really count if someone is crazy about you when you're not being yourself? Does it really count to you? And How would you want him to show up? How would you feel if, after 3 months, you discovered that he had been showing you a version of him that wasn't real because he wanted you to like him more? How would you feel, and what would you say to him? And then imagine finding the right person who truly loves you for being you. Do you want to miss out on that because you're pretending to be someone else? So, after all, when we take away all the layers of this problem, then the core issue that is back is whether you like and accept yourself as who you are. Because if you do, you will find it much easier to relax into your own authenticity than if you don't. If you feel completely okay with who you are, knowing that not everyone will like you, and that is okay, and what matters is that you like you and you show up as you, then you will be more authentic and you will easier attract someone who's all in on you. And you won't make rejection mean that there's something wrong with you. It just wasn't a good fit. So this was how you can identify whether you are not being yourself in dating, some of the symptoms, some of the ways that it shows up, and some questions to prompt you into changing that, to prompt you into deciding that this is not how you want to do. This is not the way you want to show up in dating, and you want to become more authentic. But if you don't have a basic level of self-acceptance and self-love, of course, it can be difficult to be yourself. If the person that you really are is a person that you don't actually like and support, you don't have your own back in being yourself, then of course it's difficult. So how do you work on that? How do you work on self-acceptance and self-love if you have a long list of reasons why you are not attractive, funny, smart, interesting, or pretty? If you have a long list of reasons why you are not dateable, then how do you even start changing all that? That will be the topic of next week's podcast. So stay tuned for that, because I'm going to give you a really cool exercise that you can walk yourself through, and that will change how you see yourself, and that will help you start accepting and even loving yourself more. And if you like what you hear on the podcast, you're going to love working with me. Getting the personalized and customized coaching and support is even better than listening to podcasts or reading self-help books. And guess what? I offer a free call for women who are curious to find out how they can work with me. And that is 45 minutes with my full attention on you. It's not an online course, it's not a robot, it's not ChatGPT. It's a real human who gives you the most valuable we can give each other, which is time and attention. So, what are you waiting for? Hop on the link in the show notes and book a call. This was all what I had for you today in this short episode, and I hope you found it useful. Don't forget, no matter if you're single or not, you are loved, you are worthy, and you are important in this world. Have a wonderful week. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.